How's it going, everybody? My name is Everett Harn, and we are the Geeks on Screen. I'm here with my fellow co-host today. Steven is finally back. How's it going, Steven?
Oh, it's going great. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah, and if you
Oh,
wonder why Steven's not as loud and obnoxious as he usually is, it's because he's at his future in-laws' house, so he can't talk very
right. I'm trying to be very quiet.
loud. So, also joining me in the bottom right, we have Tommy, son of Odin, son of Thor, Oxford. How's it going, bro?
Son of a.
It's going good,
Uh,
man. Haven't actually been on the podcast in a while, so I'm actually glad to be back.
Yeah, man, and I gave you the Thor box and everything, so welcome back.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we've got the one and only CK Stewart. How's it going, CK?
It's me. It's going pretty good. I'm living life. It's very exciting.
Awesome. Well, you're wearing the purple sweater that matches your awesome Hulk box for everyone that's not.
Yeah, I made a good choice. But then the question is, am I Edward Norton Hulk or am I Mark Ruffalo or am I a
You're,
super duper throwback to Eric Bana or Lou
but
Ferrigno?
you're Mark
I could be
Ruffalo.
anyone.
We like
Oh,
you, so
so
you're
nice.
You're
yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, just not even giving her a choice.
You're Eric Bana. Well, if I said
No
she was
decisions.
If I said he was Eric Bana, he would just like, fuck you. I
Yeah,
don't like it. No, that Eric Bana film was terrible.
it was.
Yeah, Tyler was
Glad
supposed
to
to be
hear.
joining us, but as you can see by his Tyler as Black Widow box, he he didn't make it. So I put that on there as a little fill-in picture. But yeah, so as you can see by our boxes here on the video, if you're watching, we are talking Marvel TV shows and movies tonight, and we're not just going to be talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe TV shows and stuff. We want to like go all the way back. We want to talk about like the Sony ones, the Universal ones, the Lionsgate
Really
ones,
bad
the
ones.
Fox ones, and then we also want to talk about on all that good stuff. I can hear myself talking now. Let's say we also want to talk about Elektra. So, but first we're going to start with our what we watched this week. So let's start with you, CK. What have you been watching?
I watched The Flash, which I feel like is often the only thing I watch most times because I'm such
Yeah.
an interesting
Me
person.
too.
Um, Super good. It's a good choice to make though if you only watch one TV show. And I also watched the first episode of a new CW show called The Messengers. It's gotten no press. It's dumped in a weird time slot that I can't even decipher yet. I only know that it's also on Hulu. But it was pretty good. So
Okay.
I don't know what's happening. That nothing else is going on with publicity, but you can
That's
find
not
it on
tied in
Hulu.
with the. That's not tied in with the movie that came out called The Messengers a couple of years ago, was it?
No, I think it's totally unrelated. Probably more in the vein of that, like Paul Bettany Angel movie that got turned into Dominion on Sci-Fi.
Paul
Oh,
Bettany, The Vision.
Yeah,
Uh,
coincidentally, also in a Marvel movie
mm-hmm.
twice.
Okay. Is that all you've been watching?
Yeah, like I said, I'm super interesting. I watched no TV.
Well, I guess since you watch The Flash, and we never talk about The Flash on the show. Let's just be honest. Never, ever. What have you been thinking about like the lead up to the season finale?
I'm
Like,
super excited. Everything is getting so interesting. This week was kind of I don't know that this week was my favorite episode. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, but
you know,
I am super stoked both about everybody finding out about Harrison and Iris finding out about Barry. Finally, what's up with that?
For
And
the
Gorilla
second.
Grodd. Holy crap!
Gorilla Grodd's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think in Flash they're still doing like the Monster of the Week episodes, like, and there are only 3 episodes left. They had like the
Yeah.
bee chick, and then this week they had the little like metamorphosis. I don't know what do you call those, like shape shifting guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like next week's gonna obviously be Harrison, and then they're gonna have an episode. I'm guessing the very last episode will be like a Grodd teaser or something. But it's like they only left 3 episodes for their actual like finale. Like, the finale's been in the background of all these like Monster of the Week episodes, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
3 weeks behind on Flash, so
Catch up, Steven. God, you call yourself a fan? kick you off this pot. No, I'm just kidding. But compared to Arrow, I mean, Arrow has been in its like throes of a finale. Like they've stopped doing like Monster of the Week or Villain of the Week episodes for a while now, and they've just been going straight on like
Hammering
all
the
of
story.
yeah, just hammering out everything and trying to get us to that finale because honestly, I have no clue where the finale's going. Like, all those spoilers that we've seen, like, they kind of just throw, like, a wrench in the machine because I have no clue, like, how he's going to get from where he is now to that point. And
Right.
so the spoilers that, from, like, the pictures you've seen, yeah, they're spoilers, but, like, they don't tell you the whole story, which is kind of cool. But, yeah, those shows are really something. So I guess we'll move on to you, Steven, since you haven't been here in a while. You've been watching iZombie, which is another DC CW show. What do you think of that?
I think I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, and I think it's awesome. I really
Yeah, I've seen the first two episodes, and it grosses me out whenever she eats the brains with like macaroni or like spaghetti noodles and hot sauce.
yeah, that and ramen, brains and ramen. Ramen doesn't taste good anyways, but hot sauce and then brains.
Well, it's
Uh,
just I don't know, man. Just think of
yeah,
like the metallic-y taste that it would.
uh,
That's what I do. I'm like, ah. But yeah,
if you've ever eaten escargot, I imagine it tastes like that, but yeah, metallic-y. It's
I
mm,
love the character of Liv though. How she, like when she eats, like the first episode, she eats like this kleptomaniac's brain, and she like becomes all klepto and starts stealing everything that's red.
right. See, that's what I was gonna say. We have such a kind of a stereotypical zombie picture in our brains that
Mm-hmm.
we've always seen. So to see someone like Liv be the character she is and be a zombie, but not be your Night of the Walking Dead zombie, and when she eats brains, she gets like a superpower. You
Yeah,
know, the first one was a klepto, the second one was a painter. And she can now paint. I mean,
she wasn't
like
just a painter; she was like a Latin lover as well. So
right,
whenever
exactly.
she saw like the women that this painter used to sleep with, she'd like
She was
lust
like,
for them. It was hilarious.
and like she doesn't retain any of that. It works
Right.
out in the system, but to me that makes that character so dynamic. She's
Mm-hmm.
not one side. She's not just good at doing one thing. She could be good at anything. It all
Right.
depends on their situation. So I think that show has a lot of potential, and I'm afraid people aren't giving it what it deserves. Uh,
Right.
but I finally got to finish Dracula Untold. Absolutely loved it. I I watched the first half of it. It was great. Didn't get to finish it, and finished it finally this week. Great movie. And from what I've read, Universal wants to do like the Marvel universe for their monster movies, and Dracula Untold was the first one of that series. So we should expect Frankenstein, the Mummy, Wolfman, all done somewhat like Dracula Untold.
I'm
That,
totally for that.
if that's the case,
Yeah.
I'm so for that because they're saying, well, now it's not going to be a horror movie. Well, Dracula Untold wasn't a horror movie, but it was a great movie. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good way of doing it now.
See, Brad just didn't know what he was talking about, trying to say on the other podcast that movie was horrible. See,
Well, that's what they get for talking movies on the comics podcast. But yeah. But yeah, I'd be really excited to see like a really good mummy movie that spins off
Right,
into like a mummy like superhero type thing,
right.
like, you know.
The Invisible Man. I want to see that brought out because you, what can you do with the Invisible Man? Well, we don't know because we haven't seen that in
Right.
40 years. You know,
Well, he was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but
right? But we won't.
they just kind of made him like a trope.
Right. So I watched that. I'm excited. Hopefully that will pan out and they'll do that because that would be great. And the last thing I really watched this week was Once Upon a Time. And I was going to talk about it with Tyler, but he's not here this week. Really love that show, and they're really doing some interesting things right now with the cast.
What are they? What's like the newest character that they've introduced into that show? Because they've been adding like a lot of cool ones.
Well, this half of the season was the Queens of Darkness. So you had Ursula, Maleficent, and Cruella all
really
together teaming up.
I bet Cruella is just like the nastiest woman, isn't she?
She's a very interesting character. It's hard to really talk about her because you think, how does that fit into this world of fantasy and Maleficent's a dragon, but how does Cruella fit? She's just a person who has a thing for fur.
Because when you think about like Cruella back in the cartoon, like she was like the grossest woman. Like I don't know how kids like ended up like falling into the smoking trope after seeing 101 Dalmatians, because all it was just like Cruella, just nasty woman, just smoking a cigarette the whole movie.
Skin and bones, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
With her yellow teeth.
Big craziness. They did it really well. The newest person they've added is the author. We've been hearing about the author the whole time. We finally got to meet him. And he was a character in Lost, too, so I was excited.
Okay. I can't wait until they add Winnie the Pooh into that show, and he's just like, just like smashing people. He's just like he's just like a straight up like a bear in a red shirt, just like killing people. And then you have a pig that runs along beside him, and yeah, that'd be freaking awesome.
Honey baked ham.
I need to get into that show.
Oh, that's a great joke.
That's your only good joke you've had so far, Steven.
Yeah, Steven's back.
One a night.
Tommy, you've been watching Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually finish it. I'm about halfway through season 4 or 5, and I just picked up 6. So once I get through these last couple of seasons, I can actually see the season finale. And I've heard people, through Facebook and through Twitter actually say that the finale was horrible, and like the entire last season was just drawn out. So I'm kind of.
Is it the series finale or a season? Like, is that show still going?
No, series finale.
Series finale. Okay.
Yeah. But like people were saying that like the entire the last season was just super drawn out, and could have been ended quicker. So I'm kind of worried to go into it because I love the show so much. But
right.
Okay.
But other than that, I've just been watching Vikings, trying to get caught up on that as well.
Oh man, I didn't know you liked Vikings.
Oh, how could you not, man?
I've been talking about it for like the past 7 podcasts. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I always mute you when you start talking, so I really love this.
So, how's Vikings going? Is it living up to all your hopes and dreams?
Oh yeah, man. It blows me away every episode. Just like with some of the shit they come up with, like I'm completely immersed, and like season 3 has been, the best season so far, and I really don't know how they're gonna top it in 4, but I know they're going to, so I'm just holding out anticipation to see what they come up with.
And speaking of blowing Tommy away, be prepared because there's a tornado outside his house somewhere, so you might see Tommy fly real life live on this podcast.
Tyler, this just in. Tyler says to tell Tommy that he has a very special deleted scene from season 3, episode 1 of Vikings for you. I don't know how to take that.
I don't either because I'm trying to think.
Ragnar swings both ways, Tommy.
Ragnarok.
Sorry to I'm just kidding. That'll be interesting. I need to catch up on Vikings so that I can be in on the jokes.
It sucks because I can't watch it live because I don't have cable or anything. So I have to wait 1 or 2 days for them to put it on their website for me to catch it.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah. All right. Well, last but not least, I've been rewatching Daredevil. I think for the 3rd time. I just started it with my fiance last night, and she's like the type that just hates anything that's non-realistic or sci-fi or fantasy or superhero or anything.
Like my fiance.
Yeah, she's the complete opposite of me, and so I showed her the first episode of Daredevil, and she actually kind of liked it. It was a little too gory or bloody for her, and the fighting, and she doesn't like scary stuff. So when like they're going through the apartment and the guy jumps out, she jumped, but she seems to like kind of the drama and the law part of the show. So I might actually get her to watch the whole season. So that's exciting.
I like that they're doing more of the. It's not just all him in the suit. It's him at the office and him in the courtroom. That really gives us more to Matt Murdock and makes him more of a real character, relatable.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best parts. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But some of the best parts of the Affleck Daredevil movie were like when he was out of the suit.
Right.
So. But yeah, other than that, before you turn off the podcast, I'm not going to talk about it, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I did see Age of Ultron early this week because it came out on the 22nd in Sweden. You can check out my review on geekswithwives.com. It has no spoilers at all. I've actually had plenty of people thank me for doing a review without spoilers, and I know there was I know Will from the Capes crew, I guess he was complaining about reviews that he had seen that have spoilers in the title, which is just crap, So in my title, it says non-spoilers.
But watch out, because tomorrow I get to see it at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to write a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do the spoiler cast, so we'll see.
Oh, okay. Then I won't write anything.
Yeah.
I mean, both of you have already spoiled everything by getting to see Age of Ultron before I get to see Age of Ultron. So
we've spoiled the world
in the grand scheme of fairness.
Yeah, we've spoiled life's fairness in your innocent
watch out
mindset.
for Darth Vader.
Yeah, I mean, Ultron, he picks up Darth Vader's mask at the end, puts it on, he's like, pow, pow, and then it says, "We have just retconned the first 3 Star Wars films," and then it ends. That's the after scene credit. No, I'm just kidding. So also, last night I tried to watch Ricky Gervais's new show, Derek. I couldn't really get into it. Have you guys seen that?
No, but I like Ricky Gervais.
It's tough to watch. He plays kind of... I'm not sure if his character's got kind of a mental handicap or what, but he plays a guy that works at an old person's nursing home, and it's got Carl Pilkington and his crew, and I haven't seen Stephen Merchant in it yet, but it's it looks okay. It didn't catch me in the first 15 minutes like a show should, and so I stopped it because I wanted to watch something else during dinner. But
Daredevil.
Yeah, I had to watch Daredevil, exactly. So I might go back and try and watch it again, because it's from the people who did The Office and Extras, and I like those shows, so maybe I'll give it another chance eventually. The last thing I watched was Last Man on Earth. I caught up. Man, that show...
I'm like with you. I know where you're going with this, and I agree with you already.
Are you caught up on that show?
I am 1 episode behind.
Oh man, if I was Will Forte's character Phil,
I would shoot somebody.
I would, there's only in Last Man on Earth, each, it's about him being the last person alive after a virus, and then eventually you've got different characters that show up, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm not the last person," and so they join this little community that they start growing in this cul-de-sac in Tucson, Arizona. And the first one that shows up, I forget the actress's name, but she's Mel from Fly the Conchords, and she shows up, and she's really quirky and weird, and she's like, they're like, "Well, I'm the last woman on Earth, you're the last man on Earth, let's get married." And so they get married, and then the minute, not the minute, but maybe the day or two after they get married,
they're driving away from the church.
As they're driving away from the church, they hit a car, and inside the car is freaking January Jones, who's gorgeous, and so now he's like, "Oh crap, I just married this kind of homely, crazy lady," and now there's January Jones, and so he's like,
"Isn't the girl the one he marries, the one that does the voice acting for the sister on Gravity Falls?"
Kristen Schaal.
Yes, that's her.
If that's how you say it.
Yes.
Thanks, Tyler.
I think that is her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she She's a funny character, but yeah,
Yes.
compared to all the other women that they get on that show, because there's a few more as well that show up later, she's the bottom of the barrel, and his character knows that. I mean, I'm not being a chauvinist or anything. Like, his character is like, oh crap, now
That's
there's
how the show is made.
there's all these women, and this big fat guy shows up named Todd, who's like the sweetest guy on earth. And he starts getting all these single women because, Phil is married. And he just has the worst luck out of all the characters on the show. And eventually all the characters, actually all the characters just hate him because he does nothing but lie and try and get in bed with all these women. And I was watching it this past week. It comes out on Sunday nights. I was watching it, and I was just telling Suze, my fiance, that the only thing the show is missing is just a really good-looking black guy to show up and ruin everything for Phil, and that happens. I was like, I should be watching this. I should be writing this show. I should be writing it, because a minute after I said that, a car pulled up and there was, what's his name? I don't know. He's a really good actor.
Washington.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, he shows up, and just Phil has the worst luck. And I feel like if I was the last man or last person, one of the last people on Earth, there was 8 of us left, and all 8 of them hated me, I would just be like, screw you guys, I'm leaving. Screw this. I do better on my own. I lasted a year.
Obviously more people. So get in your big RV and drive somewhere else and find other people that don't hate you yet.
Right, exactly. I would just move to freaking, I don't know where,
Vegas.
Florida, or no, not Vegas. Vegas would be hot as crap. I'd move to somewhere California, maybe. Just a little bit farther. It has nicer weather. Well, there is earthquakes.
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes.
Typhoons. Hurricane, tornado,
and devastating droughts. So there's no drinkable water.
But yeah,
right.
Let's finish up with this. So that's all I've really watched. So let's move on to our main topic, which is Marvel character films and TV shows. So we're kind of doing this in honor of Age of Ultron coming out. But we are going to do an Age of Ultron cast as well next weekend on Sunday.
As long as the comics cast doesn't do it first.
Oh, they're going to do it first. I can guarantee it. But
they're always stealing our ideas and shit.
I'm just comics cast. We love you guys. We're just joking.
Are we?
Yeah, Steven said that. No, I'm just kidding.
Steven
Daredevil.
said that.
So I wanted to do this last week when we were talking about Daredevil, but we didn't have time to get into it. I kind of wanted to go over kind of the differences between the two takes on Daredevil. So the way Fox did it, right, they kind of made it I guess you could say sassy. They tried to make Matt Murdock kind of this sexy, funny guy that, he, I don't know, Foggy, who's played by, who played Foggy in that show? Was it freaking Jon Favreau or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put, mustard in his coffee instead of honey. They tried to make it, funny. And then they had freaking Jennifer Garner as Elektra, who's not Asian at all. Or I guess she was supposed to be Greek. And maybe she is Greek, actually, but I don't know. But she didn't look anything like her dad. But, and then they had Colin Farrell as Bullseye. And I respect them for trying to do Bullseye, because Bullseye is, Daredevil's, Green Goblin, he's the bad guy that messes Daredevil up the most, besides Kingpin. And they didn't have the right, well, they did have the rights to Kingpin, because they had Michael Clark Duncan. And Michael Clark Duncan, for the most part, I mean, he was an okay cast because he was massive.
Right. But that's all he really had.
That's all he had. The way that, okay, so let's start with the Kingpin. The way that they portrayed the Kingpin in that old film was he was the typical gangster.
Right.
He went around, he did all of his own dirty work. He was just this big dude.
Carried a cane and beat people with it.
He went to parties, he threw lavish parties like Bruce Wayne, all this stuff. Yeah, he carried a cane. like, I don't know, like they just kind of didn't give him a whole lot of depth, whereas the one in the Netflix series is real eccentric and has a lot of depth. And
It's weird,
well, he is weird, and I think they did
but
a
I
great.
like.
Yeah, they.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
like.
saying he's bad. Bad. The way they did it is bad at all. I'm saying that he is so different than any Kingpin I've ever seen portrayed, whether it's in the cartoons or in that movie, that it makes me just want to keep seeing him. I want to see him again because I want to see what he's going to do now because they've developed this character so well that it's addicting to watch him because you
Right.
never know how he's going to act.
Yeah, they humanize him a lot,
Yeah,
which in the old movie they don't humanize any of the characters really. I don't even think Matt Murdock was really humanized. Like he was like this kind of sassy lawyer who goes in the court and can, he wins like every case because he's, I don't know, justice is blind is what he kept saying like 15 times in that film. But like the lawyer scene in the new Daredevil, like that Matt Murdock lawyer and Foggy, like they're kind of humble and
right.
they're just starting out and they kind of know their place. Like they didn't just make them like a super prestigious law firm immediately
Hmm.
like they did in the Fox film. But like, I don't know, like they did some really cool stuff. Like I guess we can all agree that the old Daredevil wasn't Ben Affleck's fault.
Right.
Like he was an okay Matt
He did a
Murdock.
decent job in the
Like
role.
I'm not sure how Charlie Cox did it, but when Ben Affleck filmed as Matt Murdock, they put lenses into his eyes that literally blinded him. He couldn't see at all whenever he was doing that role, and that's why he did a great job as a blind person. Like, it's hard to pull off blind because our eyes naturally try and adjust or look at things.
Right.
And he had lenses in his eyes that covered up his
So
his sight.
I was going to say the exact opposite. I didn't feel like,
Really?
but I didn't know that first. But what
Okay.
I felt like, Affleck's Matt Murdock always walked with a purpose, and like he
Right.
knew the lay of the land, like he knew everything.
Mm-hmm.
And our Matt Murdock that we have now in the Netflix series doesn't seem sure about where he's going sometimes. And whenever he's Matt Murdock, he's always moving slower. He's not moving fast. He's not running up things. He's not. And that
He gets like the nuances of a blind person walking down. Like he can, he's kind of unsure.
exactly. And I like that so much better because that to me is more realistic than
Hmm.
how Affleck walked with, such purpose and just like he owned the place as a blind guy.
Lastly, I kind of want to talk about, like Piper mentioned on last night's Capes podcast, that she thought the show was a little campy because it was obvious that Charlie Cox, he was like looking around at things that he shouldn't be able to see. And in that series, we realized that, or they show us like maybe a 5-second clip of how Daredevil sees with the fire and the flames. And
Hmm.
so, and he actually sees things, like he can see when people nod their heads and stuff like that in the Netflix series. So that explains her complaint about that, is he actually can see. He always says you can see with more than your eyes. In the Fox
The
movie,
rain.
yeah, well, they did the rain, but whenever, like the way they did his vision was much different because they show you the scene where he's like banging on that metal like beam or whatever, and it kind of shows like the vibration of the beam go down it. And I actually kind of like the way they did that just a little bit more. Like his was more supernatural, like he could see like each drop of rain because of the sound that each drop of rain makes. Whereas the one in the Netflix series, he just kind of sees like the fire of like all of his senses create this image of fire like in front of him, and he can actually kind of see, whereas the other one used like I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
I My thing. Sorry to keep jumping in, guys, and cutting you off. I haven't talked in so long. Uh, my thing is, you said it already that they made Murdoch into a prestigious law firm already in the movie. He
Mm-hmm.
already had his suit. He already had his batons. He already had everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he had obviously had time to hone everything. And what
Right.
we're seeing in the Netflix series is someone who hasn't perfectly honed all of his senses, all of his abilities. So right now he sees the fire. But what's to say come season 2
Yeah.
that he won't have it more defined where he does be able to see like we saw in the Fox adaptation of the movie. That's
Right.
where I think we just have a 5 seconds of that to kind of get an idea of what he sees. But if he hones it, what will he be able to see then? So,
CK Tommy, what do you guys think about the Fox Daredevil?
From what I, vaguely remember of it, because it's been a while since I've seen it,
Yeah.
I did kind of like, how you were saying, like how he could actually see with the vibrations and like the sounds. Like to me,
Mm-hmm.
that was just, that I don't know, like that to me just kind of it seemed more realistic, and I just kind of enjoyed it because it was a little more supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the fighting a lot better in that and not better. I liked the fighting in the Fox Daredevil because he did it like obviously wasn't Affleck, but whoever was in the suit doing like the choreographed fights, where the Netflix series is much more realistic. Like those fights were kind of exciting, where he's like jumping around on the organ, and like the first scene when he's going into that bar to catch the guy that just got free in that court case, like he's like flying around the room like he's like on top of a ceiling fan, and like he straight up kills people in that film.
mm-hmm,
What
right.
did you think of that old movie, CK?
Yeah, I think that I I don't know. It's so hard to look back on it now
Right.
with um even like most recent superhero movies, and especially the Daredevil show for comparison, because at the time, like, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. I don't know. I don't know. We all kind of look back on it with like kind of this joking fondness.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a terrible movie by any stretch. It just wasn't. If you were really familiar with Daredevil, which at the time I wasn't, and you went in and you were looking for a Daredevil film, like there's a really good chance that you were going to come out of it and be like, man, like, this isn't a bad film to go see. But imagine if it had just been a really great Daredevil movie.
Right.
Right.
It's like Tim
And
Burton's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It's
that,
not a bad movie, but for Batman it is.
yeah, exactly. And many recent Superman movies, for that
Right.
matter. But I think that's one of the things that the show was able to capture a little bit better.
Yeah.
Is kind of the spirit of the character and the spirit. I don't know, like somebody posted on one of my social media feeds that it's basically a movie about a blind lawyer fighting gentrification in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen.
The Mask.
Yeah, and like it's a superhero movie because it's about a blind guy who fights crime.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also not a superhero movie because it's about a guy who really cares about his neighborhood and wants to do what he thinks he has to do to protect it, or two guys for that matter. Fisk is kind of in that same train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that bringing that more human element instead of the Fox movie, which just focused a lot on like Daredevil versus Fisk, who will
Right.
win?
Right.
I think that made it kind of more relatable in as much as the blind lawyer fighting crime in Hell's Kitchen can be super relatable than the Fox film. And so, like I said, the Fox film wasn't necessarily bad, but if you're coming into the Daredevil show now, you're like, man, I just like you just feel a lot more on a personal level about this show than I think I did coming out of the Fox film, where all I felt was like, man, what a great action movie. This was super fun.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, oh, I want this lawyer to succeed. I want them to be the best damn avocados in all of Hell's Kitchen.
Avocados. Avocados outlaw. So let's move kind of into what you were talking about, CK, because me and Wayne kind of had an epiphany this week about the Fantastic Four reboot, which is also a Fox film.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of were just talking about, with the new trailer, how it looks like a really good sci-fi film. It looks like a really bad Fantastic Four movie. And we were thinking, well, for people that know nothing about the Fantastic Four, like they never picked up a comic, they know the characters' powers from the other two movies, so they're somewhat familiar, and everyone knows Doctor Doom. I mean, everyone's going to know Doctor Doom. So they see characters that they just vaguely know in this movie, they're going to have no clue that it's not a good Fantastic Four movie.
Right.
And so we came up just kind of with the epiphany that Fox is making this movie for people that have never read the comics. Just like Tim Burton's Batman, just like that Daredevil. Fox is just like thrown in the towel. They're like, screw it. We're not going to we're going to stop trying to make the comic movies. We're just going to use the characters in movies that we feel are good. What do you guys think about them trying to do that? Do you agree with our thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
What do you think? Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I just think it's better because, that, like, not to kind of go off of, it'll get more people to see it, but I mean, it actually will. Like, that's not the only thing that, they're trying to do, but
Right.
it's a smart move for them to make it, geared toward newer fans because maybe, if people go into this movie and like it, they'll actually read the comics and get more into it.
I don't think they care about people reading the comics.
Well,
so I think they just want to build a good film. Like I feel like what I'm trying to say is I think they're trying to do away with the whole idea of it being a comic.
Right.
And they're just like, like screw the comic fans. There's only like a couple 100,000 of them. We want to get like millions of a new generation of kids that have never read the comics before to like our movie.
I think you're right because I think that comic book fans have crucified Fox so many times over the fact that they can't make a good superhero comic book movie.
Right.
And they're just frustrated. And then Marvel turns around and takes a group of people from a comic that no one's heard of in forever called Guardians of the Galaxy and pumps it out and makes this incredible movie and everyone loves it. And most people had never even heard of the Guardians before. And it was such a good... I mean, it went so well in the box office and so many people saw it and blah, blah, blah. Fox goes, that's what we need to do. Forget the comic books. We're not doing it for them because they're going to complain no matter what we do. Let's make a really great action, sci-fi, interstellar kind of movie and gear it towards regular people because that's who's going to pay to come see it. And if the comic book people want to see it, they'll pay too. And who cares? We're going to get their money anyways. But I think you're right. I think they are totally going, throw out the comic. We don't need it. We've got a base character, a base story. Let's go with this, and let's just make it a really interesting movie for people.
Yeah. Like, I feel like the one thing Fox is doing in that movie that is somewhat smart, which isn't Doctor Doom, because that's the worst thing that they're doing. They're introducing dimensional travel, which is Fantastic Four's biggest thing, is they travel to other dimensions, they travel through time, and they're doing that, and that could possibly allow them to auction some of their characters to the MCU if the MCU wanted to pay them a buttload of money. They could travel to the dimension of the MCU, the 616, because the Fantastic Four reboot is technically in the Ultimate Universe. But they could also travel to the X-Men franchise universe, which is what they're doing, so they don't have to even worry about, continuity in their, or continuity in their film because of that. And so that's kind of interesting, but the newest trailer had Doom in it, and they tried to play it off like he was like, the big reveal in that film, but God, he just looks terrible. He looks so dumb. I don't know.
We saw leaked images of him that was in an article, and it didn't look impressive then, and it doesn't look impressive on screen in that trailer, but it's, once again, we only saw it for 1.7 seconds on screen, so that may not have been impressive from this much of him.
Right.
If we watch the full movie, when the credits roll, we may say something different.
I'd like to see someone, whether it be Marvel eventually, or Fox, try and pull off a Fantastic Four movie that isn't just Doctor Doom. Like, I know they had, like, Silver Surfer and Cloud Lactus and Rise of the Silver Surfer. but and I know that they've got Mole Man cast for this reboot, but let's be honest, Mole Man's not going to be in there for very long. They're going to focus on Doom. Mole Man's going to be just kind of like maybe I don't know what he's going to be. Mole Man's not
the first bad guy they fight to get them in the eyes of everyone else.
Or he's going to be like a rhino, like they're going to show them like taking him down at the very end of the film or something. But I'd like to see them pull off some of the more obscure bad guys instead of just going the Doom.
Why not have them just go ahead? They're on a streak with these Netflix series. Why not just make a series about them?
Right.
And they're such a dynamic group that you could almost do that. And why couldn't you? You know?
Yeah, I feel like Fox isn't necessarily that invested in the Fantastic Four as a franchise, though. Like,
true.
They want to.
Marvel. If Marvel wanted to, they could do it in a Netflix series, and I think that would be successful.
Yeah, I think if this Fox movie was good enough that Marvel was like, maybe we'd like to do something with this on our own again. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like dark, gritty tone for the Fantastic Four movie. It's kind of an interesting choice because it reads like it's the kind of thing that could be set in something like, what was it? Civil War, certainly, or like Secret Invasion, or now Secret Wars, with this kind of like really sort of somber cast of characters dealing with obviously these really crazy universe-altering events. And it was kind of interesting to me that they picked that tone up, because if Marvel gets that far or decides that they want to like regurgitate another major event for whatever reason, Reed Richards is a really good character to have available for that kind of thing. I think that's what Fox is aiming for, and I think if Marvel did decide to go that route with a storyline that did require like a Reed Richards character, then a Netflix series would be perfect for it, or even something like an Illuminati. That's not really the name for it, but whatever their little
Illuminati
secret cabal was,
without the rest of the Illuminati.
Basically the Illuminati. But whatever their little secret cabal was during Civil War, it sucks that I can't remember it now. I'm totally blanking. But like a mini-series with that to lead into another like Marvel cinematic event would be, I don't know, that would be pretty rad. And I like Miles Teller, so like
they could get. Let's see. They could get.
I'm with you, Everett. That you said before that it would be great to see Reed Richards as the villain.
Right.
I think that would be such a great twist and such a great opportunity that it would really, really make for a good movie or series.
See, it's based on the comic book that Reed becomes a villain in, which is cool. But first he would, he's a teenager now. First he would have to have kids that would eventually get killed, which Fox isn't going to kill off kids. But we'll see. But I like kind of where you were thinking, CK, how like they could get, for their Illuminati, they could have Beast, who's on the Illuminati in the comics. They could have Professor X. They could get, let's see, who else do they have? They have Doctor Doom, who's in a version of the Illuminati that they've shown. And they could get Emma Frost. So they could kind of come up with like a cabal of smart people to do something in those films, and then they've got Reed, of course, but yeah, that'd be cool. I like that way.
What you guys are talking about right now?
We're talking about comics, Steven. Okay.
See,
so let's talk about the last Fox movie that we're going to talk about here is Deadpool. That just got rated R. So Fantastic Four, they're going completely away from the comics. Deadpool, it seems like they're going straight for the comics on that. Are you excited about that?
I am. I recently have started reading the newer Deadpool series, and I've read them all, and I enjoy it. And coming from just the cosplay standpoint, I've seen so many Deadpools cosplayed that it almost made the character something I didn't want to read about, because I've seen so many people do it. It's like, ugh. But then I read it, and it's actually a great comic.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. So the fact that they're going and really pushing forward into, yes, we're taking the comic book, we've shaken out everything, and now it's in a movie. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like this is 100% a labor of love from Ryan Reynolds,
Right.
which is really great. That'll be enough to make me forgive him for that Green Lantern film. But they just seem, for once, they seem really passionate about like sticking to both the spirit of the character and like, I don't know. I get the impression that they're not necessarily as fixated on being like really literal to any particular storyline, but they're just like there's a really specific kind of Deadpool experience, and they're like, we want to give you that this time instead of
Laser
Quig
eyes.
from X-Men Origins. Yeah, like be a huge improvement. But almost anything would be a huge improvement. So
it's true. I think, like you said, it is a labor of love from Ryan Reynolds. I think he is the driving force for it to be so much like the comic books, and so much like it is. I don't think if it was up to Fox, really, it would be as good as what we've kind of already seen. So
let's move on to Sony, because they're given the rights to, not the rights, they're not giving them, but they're selling their rights to Spider-Man to Marvel because they're just absolutely terrible at making a Spider-Man film. Why do you think Spider-Man's so hard to do? Because I've written here on our list, we've got the 2 Spider-Man films, but we also, down in the shows, we had like one of the earliest shows ever was a Spider-Man show.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah, you had the Spidey Super Stories. You had the Spider-Man that was in the 78 and 79. The Spider-Man does whatever. Right. Like that Spider-Man. You have Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, like you said. You had the original cartoon series, which was arguably probably the most popular out of anything ever made of Spider-Man.
That's all I remember cartoon-wise, was that.
Right. Well, and then they tried to spin Unlimited off of that Spider-Man, which failed. Mm-hmm. You've got Spider-Man, the new animated series from MTV, like that half 3D, which was actually pretty decent. Then you had Spectacular Spider-Man, that was Disney's first attempt. And now you've got Ultimate Spider-Man, the cartoon. Like, why is Spider-Man so hard to do? And do you think Marvel can do
it? Is it hard to do, or is it just franchising and marketing and pumping out toys and making money off of them?
I don't think it's hard to do because, they just do it so often. But I think it's like hard to do and, kind of get Spider-Man, to where he should be, to like what, Spider-Man represents as a character and, story and everything, like to actually get, a true, like I've read a few Spider-Man comics because, I'm not a Marvel fan hardly at all. I will admit it right now. But, Spider-Man was the first one, that I ever really got into. Wait, what, Steven?
I said son of Thor.
Don't even bring Thor into this, man. Don't even.
Back to Spider-Man.
Yeah. I think, with, it's just really hard for them to get Spider-Man, I think their problem is that, kind of like Steven says, they're just pumping out toys and pumping this out and this and this. And they're not,
It's more about a product than it is about a series.
Yeah,
Same thing. Yeah. I think the hardest part is we have so many different versions of Spider-Man through time.
Yeah.
We've got our really young, still in high school. We've got our adult Spider-Man. We've got, and everything in between. The Spider-Man cartoon series that we all know and we all remember, Spider-Man was an adult, and he was awesome, and it was such a great cartoon. But then some of the best comics, Peter's in high school, and he's having to deal with the fact that he's in high school and he's having to go out and he's doing homework, and then he's trying to save New York, and that makes him such an awesome character, which is why I think I like Sam Alexander.
I was just thinking of him.
It's the same thing they did with Peter Parker, as they've done now with Sam Alexander. And so I think it's so hard to find which Spider-Man at what time in his life that people are going to relate to most at that moment. I think Amazing Spider-Man did a good job versus the Tobey Maguire, but there were some decent Tobey Maguire.
The second film was decent.
Right, exactly. So it's hard because he was an adult then, and now he's in the Amazing Spider-Man. He's in college, so it's really a toss-up. What are people going to go out and see? What are they going to like most? In our new version of Spider-Man, are we going to get a really young guy, and we're going to see him in high school, and he's going to be in high school for more than just one movie?
We are, because they released, Tyler wanted to mention this, they released their casting list, and they're going to cast him as a 14-year-old. So you're going to get the super young, because that fits with my theory of where Civil War is going. Tyler's very upset that all the actors that are cast are just skinny white males. Like, I think he was hoping for a Miles. He was hoping for a Miles, but like we said before, they can't do Miles on the first chance they get on the film. They should pull him off later, I hope.
Yes.
Because Miles is a great character, but at their only crack that they have at Spider-Man, because if Marvel fails, Sony's just going to take it back. They're going to be like, that was your chance.
Right.
And you screwed us.
If they can make a young, likable character that you fall in love with, you want to see succeed, you understand what he's going through because he's very relatable, then people will love and fall in love with Spider-Man on a whole new level that we haven't seen in such a long time.
All right, what are you hoping for Peter Parker, CK?
I'm not hoping for anything that I'm gonna get.
Right.
It's probably my biggest problem. I don't know. To a point, I kind of disagree that it has to be Peter that Marvel even necessarily had to take a crack at it. I wish I could find them again. I wanted to link them, but I couldn't find them. There were some leaked emails from the Sony leak, actually, where it basically seemed like Marvel wasn't even particularly interested in doing that until the rumor came out that they were interested in doing that. And that Sony was like, why, like, we're not talking to anybody about this. Like, who's saying this, and do we need to try? Because apparently it might be possible. So I think this idea that, like, Peter was really always going to be a thing the whole time is, like, not particularly true. And I think that part of the reason a lot of folks are, like, so frustrated with this list of, like, 5 almost identical young kids coming out as the next Peter Parker is that it's pretty identical to the Peter Parkers that we've seen in the past. I mean, obviously Tobey Maguire was a lot older, but that was kind of the aesthetic that they were shooting for with Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield and I are the same age, and we are far removed from high school. And it's like, why does that need to happen again? And the only answer is because Civil War is why it happens again. But you could also have, if you don't want to do an origin story, it would have been pretty easy to have a character like Miles showing up kind of in the background of all these Defenders-verse Netflix series or whatever, or to have even like Cindy Moon. There's so many different iterations of Spider-Man that you can just pick from at random. There's so many Spider people.
Right. I just want to see Spider-Verse on the big screen.
Right.
Yeah.
See that happen.
Instead, they were just like, well, let's do the same thing because we got it back and screw you, Sony. They could have taken a chance and been like, we don't even need this back at this point because we just decided to do something super awesome without Peter one time for like 5 minutes in Civil War. That's all that I asked for.
Well, yeah. I'm excited that he's going to be in the Marvel MCU. But I think they have to do something interesting with the world around him, since they're going to make Peter just kind of the boring white version that we all know. No, I mean, it's the typical Peter Parker that we've all seen, tried, and done. We're all going to be comparing him to the soft-spoken Tobey Maguire, like, hey guys, I'm Spider-Man, like that guy. And then you got kind of the the boisterous Andrew Garfield, like, this kid, it's obvious what they're going to be doing. Like, Tony Stark's going to be using him as the role model for whatever he's trying to push, and kind of forcing him in the situations he doesn't want to be in. But they have to do something with his like surrounding world to make him more interesting, kind of like they did with Matt Murdock, where they put Karen Page and Foggy Nelson, and they did arguably an okay job at Ben Urich. And
I like them.
yeah. But I feel like, knowing Marvel, like I was saying that I'd love to see a Spider Slayer, like Kingpin, freaking Alistair Smythe, Spider Slayer bad guy in Spider-Man. And now that I think about it, they're probably gonna do that because Marvel loves just multiple robots just going after their heroes. So I could totally see Spider Slayers being the bad guy in his individual film, but I don't know. I hope they do something different. I hope they do like a Shocker or like a Scorpion.
Yes. Mysterio. I would love to see Mysterio played out on screen because that would be so awesome.
Mysterio's what they need to do.
He would be great because he's a teenager, he's young. What's a better way to get inside someone's head and mess with their world than Mysterio, who can just change everything?
Mysterio's like my favorite villain, is that?
I know. That would be perfect. He'd be Shocker or Mysterio, two of the best that you could put in.
So, but before we wrap this up, I kind of want to talk about Ghost Rider and Punisher, because the second films that they've made, Warzone and Ghost Rider, what's it called?
Blazing Saddles.
Vengeance. They're highly underrated, I feel like.
Really?
Yes. I think Warzone was freaking fantastic. You don't like Warzone?
I don't know that I saw it. I'm talking from experience of having just recently watched the second Ghost Rider movie.
See, okay, so let me explain myself. So the second Ghost Rider movie sucked, right? The story was terrible, but the tone and the look of that movie was absolutely perfect. Like, they've been releasing a list just recently,
and it's a flamethrower. Yeah. Like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they did it well. Like, they just needed to get a better writer on the script, but like the way that they portrayed Ghost Rider and his look. Like, I was going to say, there's a list going around right now about if, like, characters' costumes make the movie better or not. And Ghost Rider's always on the better list. Like, from that movie, they all think he looked fantastic. Which he did, because in the first movie, he had, like, the spikes and, like, the real shiny leather, and his skull was, like, kind of obvious CG. But in that movie, it was real gritty. Yeah. And his leather was kind of like all burn up and stuff. And I thought they did a pretty good job on those films. But do you think that Marvel could do a Ghost Rider film? Anyone? Tommy, you like horror stuff.
They could, but I don't know if I have faith in them to do it and do it right.
I think they need to just straight up do a Ghost Rider horror film. They need to make him...
Yeah, like have it, or lean more toward horror and more toward, adult kind of.
Yeah.
How does that fit into the MCU though?
It would fit more into the Daredevil half of the universe, like a more localized area. But I feel like if they could pull off something where they made like a crime drama / like American Horror Story type thing about like criminals, right? And so you see, it's basically like The Wire, but only the criminals you see, and then like the Ghost Rider's like the monster that comes in and kills these people. Like, you kind of reverse the horror method and make the Ghost Rider like the hero, but he's like the one that does like
anti-hero.
The pop-ups. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the anti-hero.
Because he is like Hellspawn. I mean, he is like working for Satan.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be scary as hell.
I would honestly like I would love to see that, just a dark, gritty. Like, I think the main problem with him is Marvel wants to gear everything toward, families and kids, which is cool. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to, Ghost Rider, don't.
Yeah, you can't Nick Cage
Because you
can't even
can't.
make him.
Right.
Let's not even
Kid-friendly.
bring up. No. But like you can't have Hellspawn.
My hands, they're flames.
We have to find the Declaration.
My skin's just burning hot.
Yeah. But like you can't have Hellspawn, like someone who's working for Satan. You cannot have them be kid friendly. I'm sorry.
Right.
Satan's not kid friendly to begin with, so
Well, I'm not sure who's making it, but the Spawn movie, this isn't Marvel, this is Image, but the Spawn movie is going to be set to be a horror film, and I feel like that's where they need to bring Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I think that if we can pull off, and I realize it's different, but I think if we can see a if we can see Deadpool pulled off on screen with a rated R rating, and it be true to the character and it be good, I think that means we have hope to someday see a Ghost Rider that is true to the character and darker and rated R.
That's kind of like, it's going to be kind of like the Punisher movie. Like Marvel has the Punisher rights back, and everyone was like, "Oh, I'd love to see Punisher in, cameo in Daredevil," which would be incredible. But Punisher straight up just murders folks. He's
Right.
like if you watch both movies, they're both really gory and bloody, and like I hate watching the first Punisher where his family gets murdered on that island. Like, it's horrible. And then the second movie, Jesus, like, you want to see gore and blood, go watch that movie. But
I'm gonna have to go back and watch them because it's been a long time.
Warzone's fantastic. I think it's a highly underrated film. If you're a fan of the Punisher comics, I think you would appreciate that movie. It's still not perfect,
but it's close.
It's got McNulty as the bad guy from The Wire.
Which one is it where he takes apart the paper cutter and uses that as like a machete and digs it into the guy's head?
I think that's Warzone.
Okay.
I remember that scene. As soon as you said that, it just...
And like he's got the guy tied up and he's got the blowtorch and he's like burning a rack of ribs or whatever, and he smells it, and then he touches him with a popsicle, and it burns his skin because he's just heard the flesh on that pig burning. He smells it, and he touches him with the ice, and he thinks he's being burned. Those are the only two things I even remember from that movie, and I loved those two parts.
You have like the Thomas Jane Punisher jabs like a knife through a dude's jaw, and it like comes up into his roof of his mouth. Like that scene was crazy. But then they also tried to do like, what was it, the Stallone Punisher a long time ago? Like, I'd love to see a good Punisher. Do you think they could pull it off, CK, in the
I think
MCU?
they could. I don't know. There were kind of rumors a little bit that it might happen. In Netflix, where at this point, I think there are a lot of Marvel properties that are going to have a better home on Netflix than they are in movie theaters, which is for the best ultimately. But I don't know. I think Punisher would be a pretty awesome addition there.
Yeah.
It would be disappointing if they never at least, I don't know, cameos at least. Like, give us something. It would be strange if they didn't.
They were saying that it was rumored in Winter Soldier, the guy who drives the Penske truck, it's the same guy who drives the same truck. And the same truck helps out Samuel L. Jackson, and then it hits one of the Hydra people.
Right.
And it's the same driver, and he's a highly skilled person, blah, blah, blah.
They think that's Frank Castle
and so
his
they
battle
think,
band.
yeah, exactly. They think that was a hidden reference to Frank Castle.
I'd be disappointed if the battle van was a Penske van, though. I mean, honestly, he could paint it, but it's got to have like the hatches that open on the side with like the guns. And...
Maybe we've had a little taste of the Punisher hidden, sprinkled in a movie. Maybe not. Who knows?
I need to keep an eye out in Daredevil for a Penske truck. That's what I need to do this third viewing.
Well, then they were.
There you go.
Also,
just sit there with a notepad and just.
Penske, yellow van. No, Penske.
In Iron Man 3, they were saying that maybe there was a Punisher logo in Trevor's room where he's got all the stuff. Behind one of the sets that they use on screen was a giant spray painted Punisher logo. And so, and then I think someone found out that that's part of a big artwork, and it has nothing to do with Punisher, but they thought originally that that was a Punisher reference in Iron Man 3.
Well, I'm excited about Daredevil Season 2, which brings us to the news. Alright, so we've got short bit of news. It's not going to be anywhere near as much. So someone here wrote that the Guardians of the Galaxy and Inside Outriders are going to co-write Captain Marvel. What do you think about that, CK?
That. I don't know. I think that's pretty good. I also think it's interesting. I wish I could remember her name. The Guardians of the Galaxy co-writer. There was actually a bit of a kerfuffle with that, with her and James Gunn, and she wasn't really acknowledged as a co-writer for a super long time. So I find it interesting that suddenly she is in a big way. But I'm also thrilled that she's going to be on Captain Marvel. I think that means that it'll be, if it's in a similar like tonal vein, that'll be pretty great. I think that's a good fit for a Captain Marvel movie.
I think James Gunn has to be involved in a Captain Marvel movie, because if they're going to try and create a cosmic universe within the cinematic universe, Captain Marvel's going to be a part of that, and they need to work together to make it work.
Yeah, you have to have Gunn's help because he's already created that.
Right.
So,
and depending on how they're going to do Inhumans, that he needs to be part of that as well, because originally the Inhumans are Kree blood. Right. So that, their lineage comes from outer space, and they were originally from outer space, and then they come to the moon, and then Attilan becomes a city on Earth and all that stuff. So we'll see what version of that they do. So speaking of Captain Marvel, they're going to do, I'm guessing, a Kamala Khan Miss Marvel show. Everyone's writing it's unsubstantiated, but what are you hoping for that, CK? Are you hoping that's true?
Yes. If there is like a God in heaven that wants to do one super, like the only nice thing for me ever, that's all that I would ask for. It's a Kamala Khan TV show. Nobody knows how much I love Kamala Khan. I don't even understand why. But I think, I don't know, I just really love Miss Marvel. It's so good. Thank you, G. Willow Wilson. I'm so grateful. But I also think that would be such a perfect fit for a television show, too. And on ABC, we talked about all of those Spider-Man franchises, and Miss Marvel is such a perfect opportunity to capitalize that, even like an animated show for a much younger audience. And it would, I don't know, it would be a crime to not ever do anything with it, because it's such a great opportunity to build a new television franchise.
Do you think Kamala can hold her own TV show, or do you think she should be added on to like the Sky spin-off of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I don't know. I would be kind of down for that too. It would surprise me if it turned out to be a Miss Marvel show. It would surprise me if they never cross paths, because that's something Kamala getting more acquainted, I guess, with her Inhuman relatives starting to happen more in her book. Spoiler alerts, I guess. So I wouldn't mind if that was part of it. But I think a Kamala Khan like solo TV show would also be a pretty good fit. It's certainly, I don't know, it's certainly not much different from any of the number of Spider-Man animated series that we've got in the past. And it would be just kind of a nice change in audience, I guess. It's a good opportunity to capitalize on a group of new comic readers that aren't necessarily really being reached out to at the MCU right now.
Right.
I think it would be interesting to see Kamala on screen, because she's got such an interesting power set. How she can grow herself to like Ant-Man sizes, and she can stretch like Mr. Fantastic. Like, I don't know, it'd be really interesting to see how they pull her off in a way. Like, I don't know if they would do kind of like a quirky Kamala like the comics. But
yeah, I think you kind of have to, and it would be a nice way to make everybody forget for 5 seconds this list of like 5 young white teenagers who are going to be Peter Parker.
I'm just waiting for Speedball to show up on S.H.I.E.L.D. They promised it. Speedball is one of the best, so I want to see that. So let's move on to a little bit of DC news. We got the first official picture of Jared Leto's Joker. I know you got a lot to say about that, Tommy.
Honestly, I'm kind of excited, but at the same time, it was brought to my attention by my girlfriend of all people. She's a big DC fan like myself, that Joker's teeth in that, picture. Like, Joker was always big on his smile. That's always been his thing, and with like how this Joker looks, it's just kind of, I don't know.
You don't think he got his... Yeah, there you go. You can see it if you're watching the video.
Yeah.
You don't think he got his teeth knocked out by Batman so many times over the years fighting him that's why they look like that?
I mean that could be a point. That could, I never thought of that. So yeah, I mean that could. But I'm excited to see it. Like, I know a lot of people are just pissed off by how he looks, but I saw someone on Twitter, and I can't remember who it was. They basically said, look at this, not as a Joker that we have seen before,
right?
But look at this almost like a punk rock, like anarchist Joker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
my thing is that this is a Joker that's been beaten so many times and busted up, and he's in jail. And I don't know, like, they're gonna make him dark and just kind of crazy, and I feel like
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, like it kind of just like a weird psychotic Joker, whereas the other ones, were more true to the comics, but he was kind of funny and just a little, I don't know, but I don't have a problem with this.
No, like, I don't have a problem. Like, I mean, I'm skeptical just because, I've grown accustomed to, the other Jokers that we've had, and, getting somebody new in that role is scary because, Joker and Batman are two characters that I hold close to myself because, that was my childhood.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I am excited to actually see how this Joker, plays out. Like, it looks like he actually, I hate myself for saying this, but I'm kind of hoping he overshadows Heath Ledger's Joker.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think, CK?
I feel like I'm kind of a Debbie Downer now. I'm definitely not as excited about it, I think, as stuff holds. I don't remember off the top of my head if Suicide Squad is going to be part of the expanded DCU, but this just doesn't look like a Joker that could hold his own. That's unfortunate. Well, this definitely doesn't look like a Joker that could hold his own, or I don't know, kind of exist in the same space as Batfleck, or Henry Cavill's Cavill, or his Superman. Like, it just seems, I don't know. There's a certain aesthetic and a certain kind of behavior that you expect from Harley Quinn, and this Joker looks to me like if Harley Quinn sat down and drew her perfect Joker, if she had never seen Joker before ever in her whole life, then this is the Joker that we would get from a totally otherwise unaware Harley Quinn. And, like, no slight to Harley Quinn, but that Joker is not necessarily the Joker. It's Harley's idealized Joker that's not going to be a great villain if he's coming up against Batman or the Justice League in the future. It just kind of, it does look like a punk rock Joker, but that's not really, that's not a good fit for this particular universe.
It could be why they're not doing just like a straight up Joker film. Like, I hope when they do like Batman's own film, I hope it doesn't have the Joker. Like, I want to see something like freaking Clayman or something like just interesting.
Ooh. Yeah. Killer Croc.
Killer Croc. Yeah, he's rumored to be in Suicide Squad.
Mr. Echo.
Mr. Echo. So, let's see.
I think it'll really depend on... It'll make the Joker for me depending on what his outfit looks like. It goes back to what you talked about, like Ghost Rider. His outfit makes him a better character. I realize he'll be in jail and he'll have his prison jumper on. But if I get to see what his Joker suit looks like, that could totally change it for me. Because right now I'm not crazy about it.
And he's not wearing makeup in that photo, so we have to.
Right.
We have to
He's just extremely pale.
That. Yeah, because he's in jail, so they're not going to allow him to have his makeup.
Right. So I think it'll be very interesting to see once, if he had makeup on, those tattoos on his face are gone. You won't see those, and with a suit on, what is he going to look like? He looks very punk rock. So is he going to have a punk rock kind of look?
Just a leather jacket and some jeans.
To me, that'll really make a difference, I think, in it for me, aesthetically.
What would you do if he was wearing like a purple leather jacket and like some just dungarees?
No, green skinny jeans and like
right,
purple leather jacket and some
Chucks.
Converse or something.
Covered in blood.
some hush puppies on.
Right.
Oh
Oh,
god.
I don't know. I think
Doc Martens.
I'm excited to see what he does with the character, but it'll be interesting for sure.
All right, so moving on. Flash and Arrow spinoff is going to add Franz Drame as Jay Jackson. Can someone tell me who Jay Jackson is? I'm not a big enough DC reader.
No.
So super interesting. There's in the show, he's supposed to be like an auto mechanic, former high school athlete, gets injured, and has a surprising affiliation to the Star Labs team. I actually heard a really interesting theory that Jay Jackson is just like, I don't know, codename is such a terrible phrase, but that's what I mean. The working name for the character, and that it might actually be Wally West. It would fit. There are a lot of similarities.
I wonder if they would have to do like a whole alternate timeline thing with him to make him be like Iris, but in another dimension. Like Iris, like that sperm didn't make it, and Wally West did in that dimension. You know, like Flash goes to that dimension and they find Wally West. I don't know.
I don't know. They've talked about having Wally on the Flash at one point, so it wouldn't like. It would make sense to have him show up on the spinoff and then eventually have him turn up because they're like cousins, I think, and her mom is absent. So there's a lot going on with Iris West's family that we don't really know about.
I didn't know they were cousins. Okay.
Yeah, they're like.
I'd hate for Joe to just be like, "Oh, Iris, I didn't tell you, but you have a twin brother."
No, they're not siblings. In the comics,
Morgan Freeman
is on, but I don't know. Given his age, cousins would probably make a little bit more sense here.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of similarities. It'd be interesting.
I'd like to see Wally West. I wish they would do Wally West in the movie. I know Gascles had a big problem with that, but I think it would take the hate off of them doing a Flash in that movie and not taking the one from the show. Right. And it would also please the newer generation because we were talking about how, like, for the past 15 years, it's been Wally West as the Flash. Like, he is our generation's Flash. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with that. Let's see. Have you guys seen the new M. Night Shyamalan trailer, The Visit?
Nope.
T?
Nope.
You need to go watch that because it's a scary movie, and I'm a unabashed M. Night Shyamalan fan. He's, the Avatar movie was terrible. The Coming, that was terrible. The Village was terrible.
The Village is the last M. Night Shyamalan movie I saw.
Okay. But I am a huge fan of Lady in the Water, and a lot of people hated that movie. I freaking loved it. I understood exactly what he was trying to say in that movie. I thought it was fantastic. So, whatever. If you want to judge me, go for it, because I like that movie. But his earlier movies were fantastic, and I feel like people give him so much shit. Like, they nickel back on him, and I say that by, like, everyone just hates on him, even if they haven't seen, like, his older movies. Like, I'm sure, like, newer generation people hate on Unbreakable and Signs, and those movies were fantastic still. And he is planning on making Unbreakable 2, which I hope is a thing. Because he needs to get his cards back in the game. But yeah, The Visit looks interesting. It, if there's going to be a twist, hopefully it's something cool. But it's about like kids who go to stay with their grandparents for the summer, and their grandparents are freaking weird, and they're like real senile and crazy. And
I'm gonna have to go check this trailer out.
Their grandma tries to get like the granddaughter to like climb into her oven so she can bake them.
What?
Yeah,
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, it's literally like kind of like a Hansel and Gretel type feel to it. Like it's a daughter and a son go stay at their grandparents for summer, and their grandparents try to kill them.
Interesting.
So, Doctor Strange might cameo in Iron Fist. You think that'll?
I don't know. How much does Benedict Cumberbatch make to be
Right.
Doctor Strange, and how much would you have to pay him to be a cameo in Iron Fist, unless it's just like we see a business card for Stephen Strange or his hospital or his whatever. Then it's different. If you do a cameo like that, okay, you're just setting us up. But You're gonna pay Benedict Cumberbatch to reprise his role as Doctor Strange
Do
in
you
a
think
TV series?
is Iron Fist coming out before or after Doctor Strange? I didn't look at the dates.
I don't have a clue.
Because that it'll be, if it's before, it'll be interesting, but if it's after, I don't know what I would think. Like, it all depends on the movie,
Right.
but
I think if it's before, then it has to be something along the lines of just like an Easter egg cameo.
yeah,
You can't have that character because that character would trump Iron Fist
right.
on screen. So
Okay. Well, let's just fly through the rest of the news here. The not World of Warcraft, but the Warcraft movie got pushed back 3-4 months from March 11th to June 16th of 2016. A lot of people are pretty upset. The Pacific 2, Pacific Rim 2 got pushed back as well to from April to August 4th. And so did The Mummy, which is what you were talking about. It got pushed back as well. So a lot
but
of stuff
we're
being
not
pushed
sure
back.
if this is the Mummy, like Brendan Fraser the Mummy, or if it's the Universal Mummy.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I feel like they might be doing the Mummy remake.
Like Mummy Untold, like Dracula
Yeah.
Untold.
Mummy Untold. Mummy Unwrapped.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that.
Just your window.
Oh,
Uh,
Tommy, your favorite thing's up next. You want to talk about it?
God
yeah,
damn it.
Tommy's freaking excited because 50 Shades Darker and 50 Shades Freed, they've got the dates set for those, so they are coming in more than one way. February 10th, 2017. Tommy, you're going to have to wait almost 2 years for that, for the next one. And then 2018 is going to be 50 Shades Freed, where she finally gets out of the slavery that Christian Grey has her in.
Okay.
So something I know that Corey Anderson, from our comics team, is going to be really... I'm not sure if he's going to be excited. I'm kind of excited about this, but Tyler Perry is cast as Baxter Stockman in
Is he
Team
gonna
NT2.
play Medea?
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But yeah, Baxter Stockman, for anyone that might not recognize the name but might have watched the cartoon a long time ago, is the guy that was like a giant fly. Like with the orange hair, and he had like the big fly eyes and wings, but he wore like office attire. Like, that's Baxter Stockman, and he's kind of cool. Like, I remember having his toys, so... It's just going to be Tyler Perry, and he'll probably get mutated into a fly, so you won't have to see his face that much. So that'll be cool. Something that the Capes crew spoiled last night and talked about for some reason was the Fast 8 got announced, and I guess there's an official release date for that. So do you guys think that we need another Fast and Furious movie?
Hell no.
We need another Fast and Furious as bad as we need another Ocean's movie.
Exactly.
Ocean's 14. And
We could have
I would
No,
pay
go
to
ahead.
see Ocean's 14. But
I-
I can't believe 8? Really?
Yeah, like
8?
we could have honestly done without 7 of these. We could have maybe stopped at 4 or 5.
It's
I
like
liked
Jaws
3.
8.
Which one was? Yeah, like 3 was
Tokyo
the good,
Drift.
and then yeah, Tokyo Drift was good. And then after that, they're like, all right, let's do this, and then they're like, okay, this was good. Let's just like they're just coming up with random shit. Like, stop.
Cars can fly.
Yeah. All right, so last but not least,
The last
Steven,
one, I think...
you brought up something. Tell me
Yes.
what this is about.
Okay, so we're going to end the podcast on huge controversy for absolutely no reason other than to stir people up, because this is all this is. They are doing press tours for Age of Ultron. All the cast members are. And we recently heard that Robert Downey Jr. got his past brought up in an interview and he walked out. So that was a big deal. And then right after that happens, we have our Hawkeye and our Captain America, Jeremy and Chris, are sitting down for an interview. And I don't know who they're talking with, but the lady asked them basically about what do they think about Black Widow and her relationship apparently in Age of Ultron, she somewhat seems like she has a relationship with Bruce Banner, when in the first Avengers, we felt like she had a thing with Hawkeye, and then Winter Soldier, we really felt like her and Steve were going to be romantically involved. So, what do you guys feel about that? And Jeremy, with a
Please.
straight face, goes, "She's a slut." And immediately, Chris Evans starts cracking up, and they just start laughing. And he didn't do it calling Scarlett Johansson a slut. He's talking about a fictional character who is bouncing around from guy to guy, and you can tell in the clip that he's tired, that they've been going through these press interviews left and right, and he gets asked a question that doesn't even matter, and he goes, "She's a slut," and they lose it, and they're laughing, and it's supposed to be funny, and apparently it went viral. Everyone's pissed off, and oh, they think she's a slut, blah blah blah, and so now we've
Please.
got people just going ape shit over the fact that they said one word. They said slut. She's a slut. Black Widow's a slut. And then, so you've got one side of the aisle saying, "Oh my God, those two guys are terrible people. We're not going to go see the movie. I can't believe they would ever say something like that." And they made such a big deal that they both made a public announcement apologizing to Black Widow, saying they're sorry. It was meant to be that they were childish. They're very sorry. And then on the other side of the aisle, we have guys and girls and everyone going, "Have you guys even read the comics about Black Widow and how she has been with guys, girls, and aliens? And she kind of is a slut, and
She's not. Well, I mean,
she's
all
not a
right.
slut, but
Let me
she's a
let me
spy.
address this.
James
Okay.
Bond. Okay,
Oh shit!
First of all, now let me address this because I've seen Age of Ultron.
okay,
I'm not going to spoil anything, but let me just say that what it sounds like is that it was probably an inside joke between
Right.
ScarJo, Chris, and Jeremy Renner. That that she in the trailers, it's obvious she's after she's has a romantic interest in Bruce Banner, and they might have just been like, "Holy crap, she's been interested in all of us now." And ScarJo might have been like, "Wow, I'm a slut," and something like that. And they just accidentally made an inside joke in front of a bunch of people that took it the wrong way, which happens all the time with celebrities. But let's just get this one thing straight. ScarJo had feelings for Hawkeye in a platonic way because Hawkeye saved her life.
right.
She's like not romantically involved. She never was. The movies never pointed that she was romantically involved. She owes her life to him, and she's dedicated to him in a different way. With Cap in Winter Soldier, the only reason she makes out with Cap or anything is purely
To save them.
to save them and as a spy. And as we've seen in Agent Carter, whenever the Black Widows are trained, they're straight up like robots. Like they're trained to do this stuff because they're spies.
And just go and do.
And just go. And in Age of Ultron, she addresses like more of what that program did to her to make her who she is. And I think all those people that are complaining right now are going to have a different tone after they see the movie. But yeah, this is just nonsense. It's just stupid. And where
People
they're
are
going,
too fucking uptight.
And
right.
Well, I think part of the reason that people got kind of upset is because that is that's a weird thing to hear from Chris Evans, who generally has probably been one of the more
Likeable.
outspoken, kind of explicitly feminist dudes on the cast, in addition to Mark Ruffalo, who I think kind of shares a lot of this sentiment. So it was weird, firstly. And secondly,
Well,
I
it
think a
came
lot of
from
the frustration comes from the fact that she is the only woman, and to have it be about oh well, now she's interested in all these guys, isn't that so funny? Well, firstly, she's not actually interested in either of those first two dudes,
Right.
and what does it really matter if maybe she's interested in one of the dudes, and why is that question relevant?
Right. You shouldn't
So
slut
it's not
shaming's dumb.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily about the fact that they're it's about the word choice, which is kind of gross.
Right.
And it's about the fact
Yeah.
that people are just really frustrated to have anything about Black Widow be centered on romantic relationships, because that's usually not the case for any of the dudes. And she's the only woman that we're getting to see regularly, aside from Maria Hill, in these movies right now. And like, we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about how she goes and kicks ass and she's like a Russian assassin.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of the
I
frustration.
think Marvel's scared to pull her off solo, though. I think
Right.
they're scared to make her into the character that everyone wants to be, and so this is what they get. So, and like I said, see Age of Ultron before you get too far into this conversation, get too outraged, because they're going to do things with her character that might change your opinion. So just go watch that.
And the whole thing is, it was just he was being funny. He made a funny remark.
Right. It was an inside joke.
It was not
right.
meant personal. It was not meant as an attack. When he said the word slut, he did not mean it. It was just something. He just said it. It's
Right.
like you accidentally say something you shouldn't say.
Right.
It came out.
Yeah, and it was super easy for him to come out the next day and be like, you know what, this was a bad choice. I made a bad choice, and I'm sorry, and I'll try to be more thoughtful about it.
Up to it,
which is all you have to do.
And it's over.
Yes, people need to
nobody gets
calm
upset
down.
if we call James Bond a man whore. Because he's slept with more women than he's killed people.
I mean, a few people get upset when we call Tommy a gore whore, but
right. But that's just Tommy.
Who the hell gets upset at that?
That's just Tommy. No, I'm just kidding.
But really, it's funny that as in our age, we find the littlest things, and they turn into just huge media.
People are just
storms.
too up fucking tight.
Yeah.
So
I just sit back and just take a chill pill.
I've been offended by things before. I see where people are coming from when they get offended, but I wish people would have realized that this was just a slip up and a poor choice of words, and wasn't meant as any harm. And to me, I think it's crazy that they got attacked. So,
well, before we move on, Steven, I saw an April Fool's joke way late, and it almost actually got me. But did you see the the April Fool's joke that they released about how they're going to remake or do like a Lost sequel called Lost Reborn?
no, I wish I would have.
That was an April Fool's joke, and I saw it on a news page because for some reason it was still on their page. And I was like, oh shit, they're making a Lost sequel. I got to tell Steven. Then I went there, and it was like, this is an April Fool's joke. I was like, damn it. Because I would have been excited. But yeah, I figured if you had seen that, you would have flipped out on the April 1st. But yeah.
I probably would have.
So yeah, so on that note, let's go to our final thoughts because we're already moving along. CK, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CKCucco, CKCUCCO, like the bird from Zelda, and on Geeks with Wives. I've got a review up right now of the thrilling adventure hour Beyond Belief, issue 1. It's really great. If you like Scooby-Doo or horror or Scooby-Doo and horror, then you should check it out and read my review.
Okay, thanks, CK. Tommy, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @itssimplyt. And on Geeks with Wives, I finally posted a freaking article. Well, not really an article. Yeah, I posted a music spotlight because I've wanted to, branch Geeks with Wives into music and kind of showcase, different genres of music that are all, in a sense, nerdy. And, when I sent out the tweet months ago, somebody actually saw it and responded. So...
Yep.
If you want, you can go to Geeks with Wives and check out the spotlight on L7 that I posted. And I've got a few other things in the works. There might be a movie review or two coming up in a few weeks. And then once I get my computer built, me and Everett have got some Minecraft stuff and just a few other things I'm working on, in terms of streams and YouTube videos for Geeks with Wives. So
awesome. I can't wait to read your article about One Direction.
They were split up.
T just loves One Direction.
And his movie review, 50 Shades. That's going to be the best.
No, just kidding. All right. Which T hates One Direction. Don't tweet him with anything. I'm just kidding.
It's fan fiction. And he loves it.
Steven, I'm going to hurt you. You were going to...
All right. Well, Steven, where can we find you?
Apparently in a body bag soon. I've missed so many episodes of the podcast that I had to make up for it.
Well, you
Yeah.
gained a few years on your life,
Wait,
apparently.
wait, no. Let's not forget. I don't know if we mentioned it on the previous podcast or not,
No, we
but
didn't.
there was a photo that was tweeted out by
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Apparently Steven has a new cosplay. He makes fun of me for 50 Shades of Grey all the
Oh,
time.
I look
But
great.
apparently, you're cosplaying as Christian Grey, apparently.
Hey,
Team Fitty, I guess. I mean, what's up with
Team
Apparently-
hashtag Team Fitty.
hey,
Don't go there for all the Fitty scent stuff. Go there for the picture of Steven.
the one picture, the one tweet out of thousands that's not 50 Cent?
right. No, hey, what can I say? I look good in the suit, and the ladies love Christian.
And
So,
with the butt plug. Yep.
hey,
So where can we find you, Steven?
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can find me everywhere. Invictus Cosplay. I have got right now. I just posted my rundown of the Lexington Comic-Con, and it's got a whole gallery of the entire cosplay contest, and there were some amazing cosplays that went across the stage. So I definitely recommend checking that out. I have got a Loot Crate unboxing from this month that is, I hope, live on our channel. If not, I'll check it tomorrow and it'll be live. It's the Fantasy Crate, so that was a lot of fun. You can see me be an idiot on that.
As
Hopefully,
if they don't get enough of it on here.
right, exactly. In May, whenever I have some more free time, I'm going to be doing a whole lot more stuff. The cosplay tips and tricks videos and gaming again with Everett. So that'll be great. But yeah, check it out. Tweet at us. Talk to us. We love it. And check out the site and read everything and leave comments on stuff on the site, please.
Yep.
We all look forward to seeing comments on what we wrote because it means people took the time to read it, and then we will do our best to respond to you very quickly in the comments. So,
All right. Thanks, Steven.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, you can find me at Everett Gets It on Twitter. I just tweet stupid stuff, but I did tweet a really cool picture that I photoshopped today for this podcast, and that was the picture that.
oh, it's not the Star Wars one.
No, the Star Wars one I did tweet, which is fantastic. If you want to see the
Wait, you
cat,
tweeted that shit?
I think so, didn't I?
Oh,
If not,
Hashtag-
I'm going to after the show.
Hashtag pity.
Yeah, we were talking about how Tommy should cosplay as Bikini Princess Leia, and it gave me a really good Photoshop idea. So I photoshopped that, and I made Wayne in the Jabba the Hutt, and Steven C-3PO, and I forget the guy's name that I am. I'm like the Twi'lek guy that translates for Jabba. And then Tyler's Salacious Crumb. But yeah, the picture that you saw at the start of this podcast during the music
And it
is
fits so great.
yeah, it does.
It just looks so good.
I just want to hear Tyler go yeah. We need to do a Star Wars podcast soon, but yeah,
we do.
yeah, so check us out there. Me and Adam still have episodes of Divinity going up, whether you watch them or
God
not.
dang it.
Yeah,
Still
we're not even halfway through the game, so prepare for like 200 episodes. We're just enjoying it ourselves and recording while we do it. So the videos are just going up because I've got a video coming up probably today if I can finish it of a game called Slowdown Bowl, which we have also reviewed on the site, which was kind of fun.
That?
No, I didn't review it. I'm doing the YouTube review. And then Jeff Gordon, not the race car driver, our video game editor,
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
the Rainbow Warrior. Yeah, he did a update or like a video on the Mario Kart 8 update, which is actually pretty good. So go check that out. It'll be up later today as well. Follow us on YouTube. Please subscribe. Like our videos if you do like them. Subscribe to our share them. Subscribe to our iTunes. These podcasts all go up on there as well if you want to listen to them without having to see our faces, which some people I'm sure do. I have 2 articles up right now. I've got one on the newest episode of Arrow, which has 2 paragraphs of non-spoilers before the jump that has spoilers. So if you want to read that and you haven't seen the episode yet but want to get my take, go for it. I've got a complete non-spoiler-free Age of Ultron article up that's been up since Wednesday. You can only find it on Geeks with Wives because it is world exclusive. It's only on Geeks with Wives.
Only.
So, only.
Brought to you from Sweden.
Brought to you from Sweden. I wrote it on the train home after seeing Age of Ultron. So if you're one of those people that doesn't allow reviewers or critics to influence your own opinion or to build hype on a movie where your hype should already be maxed, go read that, because I made it non-spoilers for you people that haven't seen it yet, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on making it non-spoilery, so there isn't any in there.
But look forward to our Age of Ultron exclusive cast. Talk nothing about anything else other than Age of Ultron, and it will be spoilerific, the whole thing from start.
It's going to be spoilerific, man. We're going to talk about how Mickey Mouse is in the background, how Harry Potter flies through the streets, how Stan Lee doesn't appear, all this good stuff. We're going to talk about, Rocket Raccoon and Mickey Mouse, all that stuff, so prepare for that.
So that'll be something to tune in for, and it'll be just great. We may even live tweet it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do 2 different spoiler casts because I think Adam has seen it already as well, and I think Wayne has either seen it or is going tonight, and so...
I'll see it tomorrow, so I'll jump in with you guys and do an early one.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, check that out. That's pretty much all I can think of. Go check us out on geekswithwives.com. You're about to see a splash page during our outro, which has all of our Twitters in case we didn't clarify what they were or the spelling or anything.
Like mine.
Yeah, like Invictus Cosplay or... I don't know. CK's got a really catchy one, like CKCUCCO. Bing bang. So,
Fitty Shades.
Make that my ringtone.
at Fitty Shades of Tea is not on there.
At Fitty Shades of Tea.
But yeah, check us out next week at hopefully not the same time because we were way late today. Hopefully we can start on time. We're going to do also kind of in honor of Age of Ultron being released, we're going to do a show about robots and AI movies where, robot takeovers, AI takeovers, hostile AI, like all that good stuff. So, and then the following day we'll do the Age of Ultron spoiler cast where we'll do nothing but talk about that. So look for that. So thanks for my co-host Steven, CK, Tommy, and almost Tyler, who's represented here as Scarlett Johansson's body with Tyler's face, which you will all see.
And you'll never get that image out of your face, your head. It'll be there.
So, and for myself, Everett, we're the Geeks on Screen. Follow us at Geeks on Screen. Tweet us what you want to hear us talk about. Me and Wayne are going to do another trailer cast soon, we promise. So... yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
This has been a production of the Geeks with Wives Podcast Network. Please don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes and Stitcher. Also, check out geekswithwives.com for all the latest news on video games, comics, movies, cosplay, and more.